The FemView device allows us to accomplish an in-office ultrasound-guided HSG using nothing more than saline and air. Until the FemView became available, all of our patients had to undergo traditional HSG using contrast material and in a fluoroscopy suite. Let me show you how the FemView saline air device works. Any standard intrauterine catheter can be placed through the cervix to conduct the FemView procedure. However, a balloon catheter is helpful to ensure forward flow of the saline air contrast. FemView has a spin lure that allows for a watertight attachment to the catheter. With the catheter in place, the transvaginal ultrasound probe is then reinserted into the patient. Before instilling the saline air contrast, it is important to be sure that the ultrasound is positioned so that the transverse view depicting the tubal endometrial transition is clear. Steadily and slowly depress the FemView plunger to deliver the saline and air contrast. Saline and air contrast can be seen exiting the catheter into the uterine cavity and filling the fundus, including both cornua. Patency determination can be made by observing saline air contrast travel in various zones of the tube. Once the direction of flow has been identified, stabilize the transvaginal probe to optimize the view of saline air contrast entering the tube. Zone 1 can be seen with distension of the cornua and filling of the first portion of the tube as it exits the uterus. The ultrasound probe can then be adjusted as necessary to observe saline air contrast traveling through the tube, which we would call Zone 2, and ultimately into Zone 3, the fimbriated end. Once a satisfactory evaluation has been accomplished, the contralateral tube can then be examined by repositioning the ultrasound probe and viewing contrast flow in the same fashion. Here's an example of a typical case. Corneal distension is observed as the contrast enters Zone 1. Saline and air flow in Zones 2 and 3 can be noted with contrast spilling into the peritoneal cavity. At this point, it is fair to make a patency determination. The contralateral side can be visualized by refocusing the transvaginal ultrasound onto the patient's left tubal endometrial transition. Contrast can be seen entering Zone 1, and tube transit can be immediately observed through Zones 2 and 3. Sustained saline and air contrast flow is observed in the interstitial isthmus, ampullary, and infundibular sections of the fallopian tube, with contrast exiting the fimbria spilling into the peritoneal cavity. Again, the flashing bright white light indicates tubal transit. Patency can now be determined. Now that FemView is available, we imagine that HSG will be a test that can be accomplished in our offices and the offices of general OBGYNs.
Around the world, we have data that air and saline provides an accurate screening test at least as good as HSG. That's been published many times. Ultrasound consolidates the evaluation of infertility into one single exam in the early or mid follicular phase. So in the first real examination you have of the patient can be done with an ultrasound probe in your hand and a FemView in your other hand, and you can evaluate follicular growth, endometrial morphology, uterine morphology, ovarian morphology, and tubal patency all at once. I've been looking at tubes with air and water for 18, 20 years, and I have confidence that the technique works. I just know that it's a lot simpler now using the FemView bubbler.
The use of FemView at time of hysterosonogram has proven to be an excellent addition to my practice. The following is a recent case that I performed with the FemView. This case is quite interesting in that we were able to show initial patency on the left side, subsequent delayed patency on the right. What'll also be interesting is while we're looking at the right side, watch in fact that we're continuing to show patency on the left side as well. So you see turbid fluid going inside the endometrial cavity. We now are checking out the left adnexa, and you will see that fluid, turbid fluid, is coming over the ovary on the left and around the ovary as well. Now we come back to the right side. And if you check that left cornu, you can continue to see patency. We have not yet shown patency on the right, however. Again, we're watching the right side. You can begin to see some turbid fluid, some bubbles in the interstitial portion of the tube, beginning to go into the isthmic portion of the tube. And there you go. We're seeing greater patency and out the fallopian tube as that turbid fluid, as the bubbles go toward the iliac. Bilateral patency established, as noted by the FemView. It sounds like I really enjoy using the FemView. Well, that is the case. I've been dealing with fallopian tube function for well over a quarter of a century. And I've realized that the only way we can survive in medicine is to be efficient with our time. Having a procedure at hand where I can be both efficient as well as cost effective and have an opportunity to do it while I'm in my own office, yeah, I guess I am pretty positive on FemView.